Hello, we return once again just to record the other part of my bit, the nice fanfic for Nagzz, for those who are too long didn't read, like Nagzz did, unfortunately. There we go. So here we are, Lord Nagzz the Tenacious. As a start to this, I need to tell you readers something, well listeners in this case. I write as part of escaping life, so often I'm writing a fantasy of some sort. As a result, writing this fanfic making Nagzz look good is actually a very tough thing for me. After all, Nagzz is already a shining light and generally just a wonderful bloke with a ton of love. So how can I write Nagzz in a way that really includes how much of a geeky Chad the real thing is? The air split, forced apart by the sheer force of his swing. Despite having miraculously managed to duck under the halbert's path, Lord Nagzz was still knocked off balance. Almost immediately after the weapon passed, a foot planted firmly into his stomach, folding him over and sending him flying into the dirt. Nagzz's two companions winced behind their helmets, clenching their fists to quench their fear. "I must praise you, Lord Nagzz. Your valor to challenge me in single combat is something I have not witnessed for many years. I commend you for laying down your own life to spare those of your men. However, your decision was a rash one. You've already lost, and due to your defeat here, your country shall become another footnote in history." Yet, Nagzz spluttered, spitting the blood from his mouth and standing. "Futile resistance." Nagzz raised his shield, holding it at shoulder height, braced and ready to take a hit. He watched his opponent carefully. Springing forward, they charged towards each other. Yet again the halberd split the air above Nagzz's head. This time Nagzz slammed his shield into the soil, using it to brace against their following blast of air. After it passed, Nagzz stabbed his short sword forward, only for the blow to be knocked aside by the halberd's pole. The halberd then crashed down vertically, forcing Nagzz to dive to the left. It split the ground next to him, wedging itself firmly in place. Nagzz's foot slipped as he stepped forward, ready to deliver the final blow. Before he could, a flash of steel painted a red line across Nagz's forehead, stopping his advance. His foe had drawn the sword at his side, and now aimed its point towards Nagz's neck. No doubt the slight delay in Nagz's approach saved him. He retreated back, re-evaluating the situation. One of Nagz's companions began to step forward before he was stopped by the other. "Stand down, Captain," admitted Van. "He can't win. Do you intend to stain Nagz's honor?" Van dismissed. "Believe in him, Captain, and pray to the heavens if you intend to help." Captain stood down, taking a deep breath as he stared at the sky. "Perhaps I was too fast to dismiss your skill, Lord Nagzz. It is rare for a duel such as this to last so long." His foe started, admiring Nagz's performance. "I think you've earned the right to know my name. I am Lord Ray Hachinara, the Dragon of Enderval." "So you are the so-called dragon. Your name and stories of your deeds precede you, but I cannot falter here. I will stop the Empire's greedy expansion today." "I see my name alone isn't enough to have you surrender. Then let me show you that those stories you heard are no exaggeration." The dragon stepped forward, holding his sword to his right. Nagzz braced, readying himself for the coming onslaught. The first strike crashed into his shield, its force almost knocking the shield from Nagz's arm. With less than a moment in between, the second strike stabbed at Nagz's now exposed side. Desperately, Nagzz pulled his shield back, knocking the dragon's strike off course so it only cut a shallow wound across his side. Wincing, Nagzz brushed it off, just in time to see the next strike falling down towards his head. Ignoring the shooting pain in his side, he lifted his shield just in time to have it buckle under the strike. Letting the shield fall naturally pushed the blade away from him. Noticing this, he took the opportunity to stab at the dragon. His blade cut through thin air as the dragon simply turned his body away and swung his sword up at Nagz's exposed wrist. Nagzz stepped forward, roaring as he bashed his shield into the dragon, interrupting his swing. Taken by surprise, the dragon stumbled backwards, only just managing to regain his form before Nagzz followed through with his attack. He held the shield out, narrowing the dragon's field of view before swinging his short sword at the dragon. The dragon knocked the sword off course with his own blade, but failed to stop Nagz's momentum as he went in for another strike. This time the dragon managed to stop the blade, only for it to be bashed back by Nagz's shield again. Neither side closed the distance, grateful for a moment of respite. A roar of cheers erupted from Nagz's men, their collective nervousness taking voice as hope peaked. How you manage to keep such a rabble of conscripts in order amazes me. Normally when I appear I see the men quake in their boots, and even catch a few trying to sneak away from their death. But somehow, despite there being a few clearly dubious about your abilities, they stand as one, the dragon complimented. I think I even saw some of them making bets, the degenerates. Your men make for very unusual company. I don't keep that law in order. They chose me for a reason only God could know, and so I have a duty to these people. A duty to stand here and stop you, even if my life is forfeit. So you fight for your people? Well then, join me and I promise you, your men, and your land shall be left unharmed in our wake. It's a nice offer. I've already sworn myself to His Majesty Noble, first of his name and ruler of this so-called lost kingdom of Portia. A man of your word. I can respect that. When you fall this day, your name and valor shall be known by all. Dragon burst forward, his weapon already cutting the air in two. Boom. The sword wobbled violently as it flung massively off course, taking the dragon's arm with it. Completely exposed, the dragon felt Nagz's cold blade pressed lightly against his neck. Roar! Nagz's men cried as tears of relief escaped their eyes. The dragon dropped his sword and closed his eyes, waiting for his bitter end. Please, don't keep me waiting. I have no final words for you. You have bested me and my life is now yours. If you grant me one request, it be to make it quick. The dragon asked, after a painfully long pause. I'm not going to take your life, Nagzz declared, still holding the blade against the dragon's neck. All I ask is for your word that you will retreat and end this campaign against our kingdom. Ah, I see. You are a good man, but a naive one. If you let me keep my life here, I'm sure my emperor will take it instead, as payment for this failure. Then join us. I know that the Empire is not a kind country. Some describe it as a viper's nest. Dragon burst into laughter. It seems I've underestimated you even more. To think you already knew of my complaints towards the Empire's constant bickering and foolish disregard for honor. Very well. I swear myself to you, Nagzz. Call upon me whenever you need an extra sword. And so the legend of Nagzz the Tenacious began. So yeah, that was Nagzz the Tenacious for all you who did not wish to read or could not for whatever reason. Hope you enjoyed. I'll just mention a few notes which I left in a comment underneath the Reddit post, just for those who are interested and would like to see what I actually tried to get in here. So, most of these are pretty obvious. I didn't try to hide them too much, but there you go. So first of all, Nagzz's two companions are nothing but a fan and Captain Blackrock. Captain, Minister Fan, you know. Nagzz's men are the Twitch chat. There are women in the ranks, it's just more natural to use men to describe the army, and easier to understand that I was talking about an army or a company of military people. So definitely will accept any sort of criticism that I could have used a different word. I just couldn't think of one, so my bad there. It's the kingdom of Lost Paws with Noble as the king. Yeah, of course, it's Noble, obviously. Uh, Now, this one is one that may not be too obvious for anyone who isn't a massive weeb for me as well, is being that Rei Hachinana, the dragon of Endervale, is Rei, Rei 87. Hachinana is 87 in Japanese, so Hachi being 8, Nana being 7. And of course, he's representing the Ender Dragon as well, because I thought that would be a nice little touch. Um, there is also a Ghost of Tsushima reference with the boss fight, whereas he's got a halberd and a sword. Of course, I've also gave Nagzz a shield and a sword because of the Elden Ring, and of course the last moment where the sword goes boom and it wobbles over, that is a perfect parry. Um, Now, of course, obviously I already said that in the story, but yes, the Twitch chat army is doing bets, of course. Could not have that in there. Uh, and then, of course, all the wholesome things, because, of course, Nagzz is always saying that we chose him. He's a man of his word, cares for his people, cares for chat. So I also really wanted to get that in there as well. Hence that little speech. Oh, and just a final little bit. If anybody actually wants to write more in this sort of little world that I've started to create, then of course feel free. Just mentioned that Nagzz is of course the Lord of Orange County, but it didn't really fit in with this story in terms of relevance. It didn't really make sense to have that shoved in there. So just leave that as a side note if anyone wants to continue any sort of stories with this. It should be really fun, and I really do encourage it because writing is a hell loads of fun, and it's a great way to escape, you know. Anyway, that's all. So, besides my bet done, and I'll catch you in a stream or somewhere else in a bit. Oh, you managed to keep. How? Ooh, ooh. That didn't work.